welcome back to Litigation Help. My name is Heather Hui-Litwin, and today we're going to continue on in our discussion on how to fill out financial disclosure forms for family proceedings. Please note that this video provides general legal information only and is based on the law in Ontario, Canada. For advice specific to your case, please consult a family lawyer. So joining me here once again is family lawyer Shmuel Stern of Disclosure Clinic. Hi, Shmuel.
Hello, hello.
Shmuel and I did a series of videos last year, I believe, in which, you gave step-by-step instructions on how to fill out Form 13.1. So for viewers who didn't catch that, I have a link in the description box below, or I'm also going to put a little card up here in this on the screen so that you can just click on that to access that. So Shmuel, yes, you told me that there are additional topics in financial disclosure that you really would like to share with our viewers. I thought we were done, but I guess we're not. So yeah, could you tell us what those topics are?
Well, for today, we're going to talk about excluded property, which is part of the Form 13.1. So we're going we're moving our way to completing the form. This is not something that applies to everybody, so that's why it's a little bit of a specific topic, but it's definitely a very important one. So if you want, I could just get right into it. The funny thing is the definition of excluded property is not what's not included. It's excluded, and that there's a difference because we include excluded property and then we take it out. But
interesting.
We'll get there.
All right.
So here we go. Okay, so I've created, usually when I do some screen sharing, it's on a slideshow, but today it's we're going to be doing it on a spreadsheet, which is very applicable because we're going to be doing some math, and I want to explain it very clearly in real time. All right, and so the agenda for today is: number one, what is excluded property? Two, how does it work and how does it not work? That's important. There's a reason why there's a space between 2 and 3, but 3 is how do we put it into your financial statement? Very important. And then lastly, what are the takeaways? Okay, so let's just get right into it. So what is excluded property? And the answer is you just have to start at the beginning of the law, which I'm going to show you right now. And many people, even lawyers, don't read the actual law, and I don't fault you for that. But if you go to the very beginning of the Family Law Act, there's a preamble. And I will read it a little bit, but the point is to get to this point right over here. Whereas it's desirable to encourage and strengthen the role of the family, and whereas for that purpose, it's necessary to recognize the equal position of the spouses as individuals within the marriage, and to recognize marriage as a form of partnership. And whereas in support of such recognition, it's necessary to provide in law for the orderly and equitable settlement of the affairs of the spouses upon the breakdown of the partnership. So let's just stop right there. And the first thing you should notice is that the orderly and equitable settlement is a different word than right above over here where it says the equal position of the spouses. Yeah. So we're looking for the orderly and equitable settlement. And the word equitable has two meanings.
Oh boy.
Okay, one meaning is fair. It's got to be a fair settlement. Yeah. And fair could be equal, but it doesn't have to be equal. It has to be fair. Equitable also goes back, and we had another video talking about unmarried spouses where there is a default law that is based on the principles of old law of equity. And the Family Law Act, which deals with married couples, is building on that equitable law. It's not necessarily replacing it, it's building on top of it. And so that equitable law is still there, and it's going to come out in this discussion of excluded property. Okay? And so we can then scroll down to the actual section for excluded property. But before we go there, I'm going to show you the context of where it fits. Now, we've had other videos where we talked about the equalization calculation. And just to recap before going into the numbers, we want that there should be a sharing of growth from the date, figuratively, from the date that you get married to the date that you separate. You can technically calculate that growth, even notionally, by taking a snapshot of your net worth on each of those days. So let's say your date of marriage, you're worth $10, and the date that you got married, you're worth $0. Okay, so then the math is very simple. 10 minus 0 equals 10, and you have grown in the marriage in this made-up calculation by 10. And that magical number is called net family property. It represents your growth, okay? Which is a lot different than saying, well, whatever we have at the time of separation, we're going to divide everything equally. No, we're not doing that, okay? Because if that date of marriage number is 2,
yeah,
then the math is 10 minus 2, and you're only sharing 8, even though you're worth 10. You're only showing 8, which represents the growth. Okay, so that's, and within the context of the calculation, we're going to do that for both parties, come up with numbers called net family property for both parties, and then we're going to look at them, compare them, and split the difference. My go-to metaphor is 2 cups of water with this net family property, and we pour from one to the other cup in order to make them equal. I know that sounds a little bit crazy. I'm going to demonstrate it actually on the spreadsheet right now. But again, the big picture is that we're doing this calculation that's based on the law that is not splitting everything down the middle. Rather, we're sharing growth. If you have that, that is a good starting point. So then we look now at the calculation. And to recall that I said, let's say both parties, we want to know what their net family what their net worth is on the date that you separate. What we call that valuation date. It also includes death, where the separation, where the relationship ends with death. But so Jack here has 8, and he has nothing on date of marriage, and so his net family property is 8. And Jill on this side is 4, her net worth, and her date of marriage is 0. So her net family property is 4. And the difference between them is this number over here. I'll just put it in italics. And so again, we're looking at the difference of the growth. And because Jack has the greater growth and the total difference of the growth is 4, then to pour water from one cup to the other would make it a payment of $2. And thereby Jack going down to 6 and Jill going up to 6. Okay, again, I know I'm talking fast. You can rewind the video. But the point, though, is that this is a very top view of this calculation. And now I'm going to expand it, okay, for both the valuation date and the date of marriage. Okay, so of a sudden, we're now going to look at what you're going to see on a financial statement, not with the colors, unfortunately. Okay, so how did we get to this 8 and this 4? So here we go. On the valuation date, on the date that they separated, let's say, Jack was actually worth $10, and Jill was also worth $10. They both were worth $10. Okay, and how that's reflected on the financial statement in your property, in your vehicles, in your bank accounts, business interests, etc. But they're the same. And then you go down to the red, which is the debts, and they're the same there too, right? So Jack has $10 of assets and $2 of debts, and so Jack's net worth is 8. But net worth is not exactly what we're looking for here, because there's another line item called excluded property. And Jill happens to have 4 of excluded property. And but to say it a different way, of Jill's $10, 4 of it is excluded. Okay? And as a result, it's 10 minus 4 minus 2.
Mhm.
And that's how we got to Jill's 4. So takeaway number 1 is that excluded property is a negative. Okay,
Right.
very important. It's a negative off of a total. The second thing you should take away is that it doesn't exist in the date of marriage. This is solely something that we're looking at on the date that you separated. Okay, do you see
Mm.
how the yellow is not
Oh,
on the date of
interesting.
marriage?
Very interesting. Okay.
That's right. So
Yes. Okay.
now I'm just going to expand this so you can see it in living color, literally. Okay, so
Ah,
again, if Jack is worth 10 minus the 2 debts, he's worth 8, and he has nothing on date of marriage, then his total is 8. There are 8 cells here.
right.
And likewise, if Jill was worth 10, but she's able to exclude 4 of that 10,
Yes.
and she's able to minus the debts,
Yes.
and she has nothing on date of marriage, then she's worth 4.
Right.
Okay, now the difference between the two is 4, right? Just like up
1, 2,
here.
3, 4. Yes.
And then the payment would be 2,
Right.
right? That's the 2 over here.
Right.
And notionally speaking, Jack is going to go down by 2 and Jill's going to go up by 2, and they will
Right.
be equal at that point in their growth.
In their
Okay, I know
growth.
that's
Yes.
complicated. Okay, what's cool about this little calculator is that I can actually change the numbers and show you, importantly, that if Jill is not able to exclude her property,
Yes.
she's at 8 also,
Yeah.
just like Jack in
Right.
this scenario.
Yeah.
And there's no payment. Because there's no
payment.
difference.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so that means that it's in Jill's interest to prove that she has excluded property.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Again, they both have $10. It's the
Yes.
same money in a sense,
Yes.
not
Yes.
it's the same amount of money.
Right.
But it's not the same outcome depending on if there's a number over here. Right?
Yes.
So if I put 6 here, then it goes even lower, and then the payment gets higher.
Yes.
Right?
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. So that is what excluded property is doing in context that we're going to be trying to come up with what in this number 10 can be excluded.
Yes.
The calculation. Okay, so then we go back to the law, and there's a list. There's actually a list.